I'm here to talk to you about two things. The BYOD program for next year in Year 4, that's the start of the laptop program here at Trinity, and also something that I feel very, very passionate about, and that is the teaching and supporting of eSafety, not only here at school, but also at home. Okay, so to begin with, I'll talk about the BYOD program, then I'll move on to eSafety at Trinity and eSafety at home, managing technology at home and school. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, the first information about the BYOD program came out, and connected to that communication was this BYOD booklet. I'll share a link to that again when we share this out, so you don't have to go looking back through all of the news, but we spent a lot of time on how we want to deliver this program, right down to the kind of device that we recommend to use, how we're going to use it here at school, and supporting how we teach the students how to use technology responsibly, and what you can do at home to continue that journey with your child. Something new this year is that we are working with a new vendor, Computer Alliance, and we have worked with them to develop a portal where you can purchase the device for next year. Now, this is not compulsory at all. We do this, and this portal will stay open for the remainder of the year as well too next year. And this is a device that we highly recommend as a device that would be very suitable for a student coming into the program in Year 4. And you'd probably hope to get 4 years out of this device, 3 years depending on how rough your child is with the device. And so originally when we first put this up, something that we wanted to do was to provide an option for a more expensive device if you wanted to. That device has been taken off now because it needed to be pre-ordered. So this is the only device that's up there now, and that is this one right here, and this is a HP. So it's a ProBook. We've been buying these devices here at Trinity for 5 years, 6 years. We've got a black one and a blue one and a red one. We use them in our STEM program. We've tested them extensively, and we really do feel like this is a very good device for students. This is not the device that we say you have to have, and you can certainly go to Harvey Norman or JB Hi-Fi, or you might have contacts with people in the industry, and you might decide to get a different kind of device. I'm going to talk in a moment about the minimum specifications, because there's one in particular that's very important that is quite difficult to find. It does make it a bit more challenging to find a different device to this one. I'll talk about that in a moment. We highly recommend the 3-year accidental damage warranty. Now, it's quite expensive. It is $280. This year I've been working very closely in the IT department, and the number of broken screens that have come in that cost up towards $800 to replace, and that phone call that I have to make, sorry, the device is not under warranty, it's going to cost this much. You're happy to, you can go and shop around and see if you can get a replacement screen, but anytime we have a touch screen, it's very, very expensive to replace. A very common thing that students do is they leave a pencil or something here, they close the lid, and because they can apply so much force at this point here, crack back here. It's such a common thing. Also, I'm sure you've seen your own children with the things that they have and the expensive things they have, and how they probably don't look after it as well as we would like. Number of bags I've seen thrown into the racks that have laptops in them. Yes. So the accidental damage, the 3-year accidental damage, I highly, highly recommend. I've always got it for my children. My son has just graduated Year 12, so I've been through all of this. He was very careful with his device. My daughter's broken a screen every year. So, yeah. And so if you have a child like my daughter, I would highly recommend getting this, definitely. Yeah. Yes, you can. Yes, and actually you can get it straight through HP, or you can just contact us and we can help you do it. Yep. Now, you don't have to buy this device from Computer Alliance. Computer Alliance are giving us a very good device, a very good price, a very good device at a very good price. We can definitely recommend it. However, you might have some contacts in the industry. You might be able to get something cheaper. So I guess what's really, really important, and this is all communicated in the booklet and also in the letters that we've sent out. So it's not a high-end device. By the time your child gets to year 7, and if they're doing digital technologies or if they're trying to make movies and things like that, this device is going to not be as quick as a higher end device. It'll still do the job, but it's more of a primary middle school device. If your child then goes through high school, and let's say you need to buy a new device in year 8, and they're the kind of student who wants to make movies, wants to do some 3D modelling and gets into that kind of thing, well, you'll be looking at getting a device that's much higher spec than this. So Windows 10 is all we really need. An i5, an i7 is actually the one that's probably most common these days, so that's quite a low spec. The size screen I think is a little bit important. 11 inch is fine, but it's very small. 13 inch we would definitely recommend if you can, but it's not a deal breaker. 11 inch is fine. One of the really important things these days is having 8 gig of RAM. So if you're not a computer person, you don't want to go and rattle off all of this sort of stuff, this one's a very important one. If the device has a minimum of 8 gig of RAM, it's going to keep up with most processing jobs. Don't need a whole lot of storage. I wouldn't encourage it these days. With your Trinity account, your child gets a space on OneDrive. So, and we teach the students how to save their work into OneDrive. So gone are the days of needing a huge amount of storage space on a laptop. So definitely that doesn't matter. This is the most important one. You've probably seen work on Seesaw. We use Seesaw as our continuous reporting digital portfolio. And so what we really need is we need a second camera, and I'll show you. On every laptop, there's going to be a webcam, a camera right there. This device has a second camera. Some devices have a camera here, but most of the dual camera laptops have the device here and the screen flips back like that, and then we can use it as a camera, kind of like an iPad. Now that becomes very important because the students do film themselves. They do take photographs and scan their work and they upload it digitally. So gone are the days here at Trinity receiving folders full of printed work. We're very digital here, and so we need to have a device that enables the students to take high quality pictures of their work, and then we can celebrate that, and it's all delivered to you through Seesaw. Okay, so that's probably the hardest thing to get if you do go shopping around, and to explain that to somebody at JB Hi-Fi, they won't really know what you're talking about, and they'll try to convince you that you don't need it. Is it the end of the world? Probably not, but you're going to find that, and we'd always have a couple of students who do have to try to take the photo with their webcam, and it's very, very challenging. And it's not as high resolution as well too. So I do want to bring that to your attention, that that's a very, very important one for year 4 and 5. Okay, so now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how we deal with technology here at Trinity, because we do recognise that we put devices in front of very, very young children as early as prep. They use iPads in the classroom, and in year 2 they do that as well too, and in year 3, and then all of a sudden now, for this very, very young child going into year 4, they've got their own device. They've got a device that they have at school and they take home, and so there's a huge amount of responsibility. It's a very, very big thing, and so for some of you as parents, you might be a little bit concerned, well, how do we teach them how to behave properly on this device? How do we ensure that they are making good choices? And how do we not put them at risk? Because we know that out there in the online world, there are a lot of risks, and students haven't learnt yet, young people haven't learnt yet how to navigate that space. So I'll first of all talk about what we do here at school. I'll give you some ideas about what you can do at home. And hopefully I'm making it very clear to you that we want to work in partnership with you. So really, really good communication, a lot of transparency. If there's any problems at all, we would love to help. If we're having any problems, we're going to let you know, and we would love for you to be able to help as well too. So what we do here at Trinity, we've got a very, very robust firewall. That means that before the internet gets to your child's laptop through our Wi-Fi network, we've got a lot of filtering in place. We've got content filtering, we've got web filtering. So we can turn off access to websites, we can turn off access to different kinds of searches, we can turn off access to applications. So, and we do that differently on both campuses, and we're a lot more strict with it here on this campus. We have to find a balance because there's a lot of really good learning that can happen online. We don't want to block everything, but we do want to make it impossible for the students to get to some of the games that they might be able to play at home. okay? And the digital distraction that our young people are dealing with these days is a real thing, and our teachers are dealing with it all the time. So we really take control of the technology here at Trinity. We have Google Safe Search turned on. So that means if there's any inappropriate searching going on, either out of Google or straight out of the URL, because we use Google from there, that things are just blocked. Images are blocked, they just don't even come up. So it's a very, very smart system that we use for Google searching. Is it 100%? No. There's still things that the students can find, but it's very, very effective in stopping students from searching for things, and that's their number one go-to. They Google stuff just as much as we do. So if they want to find something out, see something, they go straight to Google. We are a Microsoft school. We use Office 365. So with Office 365, we get a lot of fantastic things. We get a huge amount of OneDrive space, so we get this cloud storage. We have access to Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and all of the amazing apps that come out of Microsoft. But we also get a huge amount of management of our system. So we have full access to what the students are doing on their devices. We are able to, through their email, block any keywords. We also have an anti-bullying module turned on, so if there's phrases and language that's bullying, that's negative, that gets flagged to us as well too. So if there's any incidents at all that happen, we've got very easy access to email, we've got very easy access to student files, and then we also reserve the right to grab that child's laptop and sign on and have a look at what they're doing. So we take full control. And we do have times when we have to do that. So because young people make mistakes. They make mistakes and they're not always completely honest about it, and they have to know that we're in control and that we're teaching them. We accept that they're learning, we accept that they might make mistakes, but they need to know that we're overseeing all of this really, really well. Okay, we also have a Peter 12 eSmart policy, and that's a very legal document. Probably up for renew next year. Technology just changes all the time. Particularly in the senior school space, we're finding that there's things that we're dealing with that aren't in the policy that we have to add to the policy, and I imagine that's going to be something that needs to happen every year or two. A very important document that the students sign that you will see is their acceptable use contract, and we use that a lot. So the students sign that contract and you sign it as well too, and it gets returned to the teacher. And if there's any times where students are breaking any of the rules on there, that document's written for kids in kid language. And I know Mrs. Tracy does this all the time. She pulls it out, she asks the child to highlight what rules they might have broken, what little mistakes they might have made, and then she'll talk to them about that. So that's an absolutely essential document, and when you do see that next year, particularly with the laptop program, spend some time with that document and talk to your child about that, because that really spells out the things that we accept and we don't accept with technology here at Trinity. Now, all of that stuff's important. That stuff's really important, to have the policies, to have the contracts, to be strict, to be in control, but I believe the most important thing is to educate the students. We don't sit them down and ask them to recite the 12 times tables and get angry if they don't know them. We teach them how to do it. And if they don't know how to do it, we scaffold them. And if some students learn it quickly, that's great. We give them some extension. If some students don't, we lift them up and we build them up. And it's the same way with learning how to use technology. So when your child enters into year 4 with their device, they're going to enter into an eSmart program where they're going to learn about making good choices online. Now, over the last couple of years, that's the key things for that age group is very much not speaking to people online that you don't know in real life. It's a huge one. If your child's a gamer, they are at risk of that. There are games that has chat, and a lot of the fun part about playing those games is chatting to anyone and playing with anybody. And we might think, oh, that's pretty cool. Wow, that's pretty amazing. But it's a really scary space, that one. So a lot of online gaming and chatting we talk to the students about. A lot of unwanted contact, sharing personal information online, and just that golden rule of do not talk to anyone online that you don't know in real life. It's a really, really important one. Throughout their years, they'll be touching on eSafety. They'll be learning how to be a good digital citizen. They'll be looking at ethics, so making sure that they reference their work as they get a little bit older. All of those things are wrapped up in eSafety and digital citizenship here at Trinity. So at home there are a few things to do if you want to replicate some of the things we do here at Trinity. Now, I'm not going to advise any products in particular, but I am going to finish with a few recommendations for some websites that you could go to, and those websites do advise on some kinds of security that you can put in place. They do cost money. I've never actually needed to do that in my home, but I know of people that have had to. It all depends on what you're dealing with at home, I suppose. So you can secure your Wi-Fi at home like we do with our firewall. You can secure your Wi-Fi so that before it gets to any device, it's filtered. So that's if you want to go down that way, down that road, you can just Google a few things. Now you can contact your service provider. I know that Telstra and Optus both have good solutions for that. There are family-friendly filters. Microsoft has a home product that's free, so does Apple, and so does Google. So if you do a little bit of searching, you can find out what fits for you. And some of them are free, some of them are quite expensive. So it's entirely up to you. On some devices, on most devices, you can put some parental controls. There's lots of different things you can do, lots of really smart things lots of really smart things that you can do. And we've got an amazing eSafety Commission here in Australia. It's one of the best in the world, and I'll refer to it in a moment. And if you go there, you'll get all this advice with up-to-date links to recommended products, recommended ways of doing things. So it's all online for you. I think these things are more important. So I think it is great to have this kind of control. We do this kind of thing here at Trinity, but I think these next couple of things I'm going to talk about are just way more important. And this is what my wife and I have focused on with our children. So understand what your child uses technology for. If you've got a child who's a gamer, I think that's really, really important. You don't have to know how to play their games, but you should know what games they're playing. Because some of the games that they're playing, if they're logging on online, might have the ability to chat with people that they don't know in real life. Might give them access to inappropriate games. Very violent, very sexual, lots of swearing, and you might not realise that those kinds of things are an option in this particular environment. So get to know what your child is using. If your child's doing any kind of social networking at all, make sure you know what they're doing and who their friends are. Next thing, establish very, very clear rules. So make sure that your rules are very, very transparent. Make sure you negotiate those with your child. Again, I've said I'm going to share some links with you. Through our eSafety Commission, there's some fantastic websites that help you make rules at home. So can talk about rules in different parts of the house at different times of the day, for different devices and all that sort of stuff. It really enables you to have a conversation with your child. So make sure you have very, very clear rules and you are very strict with them. The most important one is make sure that you're someone that your child can talk to. Because if you don't navigate this successfully and your child decides not to talk to you about their technology use, then there could be a problem because they might see something that scares them. They might contact someone who they don't know in real life. They need you so that if they make a mistake, they can talk to you. And as teachers, we speak to the kids like that. We know they're learning. If they make a mistake and it needs a consequence, we give them a consequence. But we also do that in a very forgiving way, and we recognise that they're young and that they are learning. And so if you approach it like that, I think you should really always want them to be able to come and talk to you, okay? And that's not being soft, that's not dishing out consequences, that's that you should be the first person that they turn to if there's a problem that they see online. Number one, this is most important and the most difficult. Absolutely no internet-connected devices in bedrooms. My daughter is 15 and she doesn't like that rule. My son Jaden just turned 18, so we don't have any rules for him now. But, he's bought himself a TV in his room, and he's got a computer in his room, and he does his own thing, and my daughter's really, really struggling with that. If we get into bad routines with her, and then she gets a little bit older, and she's in a routine of going into her bedroom with a connected device, well, that's when problems can happen. If you have a child who cannot stop themselves from going onto their device, you might fall asleep, they might be awake. They might set their alarm at 2 o'clock in the morning. If students have some incidents at school, that can continue on behind a closed door in a bedroom, messaging inappropriately. And all sorts of things can happen. So this one's connected to have the device somewhere in the room where you walk around and where you can see what your child's doing. Not tucked in a corner, not sitting in a beanbag in the corner where you can't see it at all, but very, very visible. Keep a track of screen time. Screen time is screen time here at school. TV, YouTube, gaming, anything at all. Phone, laptop, computer, TV, all of that stuff. I know that my children have too much screen time, and they always have, but we've always really, really tried to manage it. So one of the rules that we had in place is no gaming at all during the week. So Friday night they were allowed to do some gaming, and then Saturday and Sunday they had to kind of earn a bit of screen time, and that's probably more strict than quite a few of my kids' other friends had, but that was just something that we decided to do. No TV in the morning, I think we did for a little while, but that one's a hard one. So, but just for you, be aware of the screen time. Be aware of the hours every day, because you'll probably be very surprised when you make yourself accountable for the amount of time you allow your child on a screen. So you're probably then going to reflect on it, and you'll probably put more strict rules in place. If you're a bit blasé about it, they can get away with 5 or 6 hours a day, and they'll do it. Some will, some won't, and they'll very, very, very easily do it. So I'd say very much keep track of screen time. And the last one, take control. Usernames and passwords, the games they play, the device they use. You need access to everything if you want it. They're not old enough to control all of that just yet. They're not old enough to make all of those decisions. They need some help, and they need your help. So set accounts up with them so that you have the username and password. So that if anything happens, or if you just want a sneaky look at something, you can. You might not need to do it very often, but they know that you know what they're doing. So you can probably not look at it for a long time, but they know that you know. They know that you know what they're doing, and that goes a long way. So, yes, do not close the door on connected devices, don't overdo screen time, and be very strict and take control. Things like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, they are just not for kids. They're just not for kids. TikTok is 15 plus. The content that your child will see if they have that app, or if they have access to it, is that they're not going to see very much appropriate stuff at all. But even things like YouTube, having a YouTube account and uploading videos, that's 13 plus. You've really got to think about what you're giving your child access to, and saying no to these things is the smartest option. Not letting them have it and seeing how they go with it, but if it's not age appropriate, the answer should be no. So, unfortunately, the video camera turned off at this point, so I'm going to narrate over these final couple of slides. I referred earlier to some really good online resources. Most of those come from this website, our own eSafety Commissioner, at esafety.gov.au. There's some fantastic resources here for parents, for families, to help manage technology at home. There's a great PDF for online safety, lots and lots of articles about all sorts of issues to do with technology, lots of great advice about what you can do at home to secure your network, to have a conversation with your child and develop some rules and some routines that is going to encourage responsible use of technology at home. Another website I would recommend is commonsense.org, Common Sense Media. It's a fantastic website from America. you can find out information about movies, games, apps, and whether they are suitable for your child. You get an age rating, lots of information about the kinds of things that your child will see if they play that game or watch that movie. If your child asks to have access to something, I would recommend that you go to Common Sense Media and find out about it and have a conversation with your child about why it might be appropriate or why it might not be appropriate. This is something that I've used in my home a lot, so much so that my son used to search on Common Sense Media before asking if he could have access to something. I highly recommend this one. And finally, we're developing our ICT support site on MyUnity. There's not a whole lot of content on there for parents just yet, but stay tuned. Next year, we're going to be developing resources to help you manage technology at home and to be very transparent about the kinds of things that we do here at Trinity. If you attended the information evening or managed to get to the end of this video, thank you very much. One final thing, if you need any help at all, any advice, setting up your child's laptop, sorting out any technical difficulties, please make contact with the IT office by phone or by email. We look forward to helping you. Thanks. Bye.